Namaste.
Hello and welcome to the Sikkim podcast brought to you by Summit Times. I'm Chiring Eden.
I'm Pema Wangchuk.
And let's just get on with today's topic, which is the hot and burning Citizenship Amendment Bill that was passed by the Rajya Sabha.
No, Lok.
The Lok Sabha on Monday evening. And today it's in the Rajya Sabha.
It's a Wednesday and it's being discussed in the Rajya Sabha.
And most likely the
numbers are in BJP's favor, and given that even the MPs from the northeast are not listening to the reservations that their own people have and are voting in favor of the bill as they did in the Lok Sabha, in all probability it will pass the Rajya Sabha muster as well and be written into an embarrassing law, obnoxious law of our country.
we just put off the heater since we thought it might disturb the sound, and just to also let the readers know that it's really cold today.
Oh yeah, it is crazy cold.
Sikkim.
So the sound recordist, sound engineer tipped you off that the blower was making noise. We don't have a sound engineer, in case you're wondering.
Anyway, so we were talking about the cab in Rajya Sabha, discussed in Rajya Sabha today.
It's there. And BJP does not have the kind of commanding position that it does in the Lok Sabha. In the Rajya Sabha, it doesn't have the same numbers. But they have enough allies and enough compromised parties that will end up supporting it. It appears. We might still be surprised, but I don't think that's happening. So we will, by the end of the day, be left with this, really unfortunate, bleak piece of legislation.
You were also saying that it is most likely the Rajya Sabha MP from Sikkim, Hishel Lachungpa, will also be opposing.
Yeah, he did speak. He's already spoken. I mean, at the time that we're recording this, he's already spoken and he has opposed the bill. And as did Indra Hang Subha in the Lok Sabha, spoke quite strongly against the bill and voted against it, even though SKM is a NDA partner. SDF technically is not an NDA partner anymore. So even easier for it to vote against the bill.
But we are not very, still not sure about the SKM BJP alliance, right?
No, SKM is a part of the NDA. I mean, that is established. What we're not sure about is whether the Sikkim government will down the line become an NDA government in which BJP becomes, joins the government, right? I mean, and that seems to be in the back burner now.
Yeah.
At one time it was like really up there, everyone was talking, but we are digressing. But anyways, at one time everyone was speculating about when it's going to happen. It doesn't look like it's happening anytime soon.
So let's just talk about why Sikkim
why don't you tell the people about what the bill is about to begin with? I mean, I'm sure everybody is kind of aware of that already, but just for the record, I mean, if someone listens to this 10 years down the line.
So the Citizenship Amendment Bill amends the Citizenship Bill.
Yeah.
And Citizenship Act. I guess, no? And it relaxes the number of years required by
an illegal
immigrant to be naturalized to get Indian citizenship. Earlier it was 11 years.
Yes.
With this amendment, it will be 4 years. 6 years, but this will only apply to communities except Muslim, let's say.
Yeah,
many
from 3
except
countries,
the Muslim
from
community.
Afghanistan, Pakistan and Bangladesh. And Hindus, Sikhs, Jains, Christians from these countries whom the government of India in the bill calls minorities, and they are minorities in these countries. Even if they are not registered refugees, if they've come to India illegally, after a period of 6 years, can apply for
Indian citizenship.
Indian citizenship, yes, naturalization. And it's got this government, surprisingly in Delhi, has this knack of painting itself into a corner or digging a hole to jump into, but there is no one to kind of push them into it ever. We saw that with demonetization, the way they handle GST, the way they've handled mob lynchings of people from minority communities like Muslims and scheduled castes. And no one seems to be doing anything about it. No one seems to be holding the government to account. Same thing happened here with CAB. The Home Minister has gone hoarse. He's got a weird voice anyways, but he's gone hoarse explaining to people that Citizenship Amendment Bill and the National Register for Citizens are not related, but they are themselves on record in public speeches saying that the Hindus left out of the Assam NRC exercise will be recognized as Indian citizens because of CAB, right? And that is why Assam is burning right now, because Assam had a problem with illegal immigrants, and it was an ethnic issue. It had nothing to do with religion. Their position was that whether they're Christians, Hindus, Muslims, atheists, Martians or whatever, if they are illegal immigrants in Assam, they need to be pushed out. And that is what the NRC exercise there was meant to be. And they were throwing crazy numbers like in crores, right, of the illegal immigrants in Assam, until the final count arrived and 19 lakh people could not make it to the NRC. It is being speculated that out of that 19 lakhs, 15 lakhs are Hindus, right? BJP had gone to town thinking that we'll chase out all the Muslims from Assam, then realizing that out of this 19 lakhs, only 4 lakhs are Muslims. The rest are Hindus, and Hindus can't be pushed back. So you bring in CAB and you tell these people who claim to be Indian citizens that now you claim to be a Bangladeshi Hindu and we'll make you Indian. I think that's cruel and it's mischievous and it's wrong. Of course, in Parliament, they can't straight off lie, which they've done in the case of Kashmir and things like that. But anyways, in Parliament, they are saying CAB and NRC are not related. But the genesis is NRC in Assam.
So I also wanted to...
Yes, and the problematic part of this bill, which a lot of people have pointed out, is that it excludes Muslims.
A lot of people have pointed out? What do you mean?
A lot of people have pointed out, as in the civil society groups and
no, it
some
doesn't
people
need to be pointed out.
It's obvious. You don't need to point it out. You need to protest it.
Yeah. So, no, I wanted to get into the northeastern region and the protests that are now breaking out, right? So, most of the northeastern states, let's say we were talking about it, no? How many of them have borders with Bangladesh?
Yeah. So there's Assam, Meghalaya, Mizoram.
Maybe
Tripura.
Our geography is really bad.
Tripura.
So the fears of the northeastern states and even Sikkim now is saying the same thing. Their fear is of influx.
Not new influx. Yeah, so their fear is that these states have been complaining of illegal immigrants. I mean, the whole Assam Accord was about illegal immigrants.
They don't care about Muslim, Hindu, all that, right?
It's an ethnic issue, which has got its own problems, whatever. But they've been complaining about illegal immigrants in their states. And their worry is that now that the Assam Accord was about identifying who was Indian and who is not, the people who are foreigners and illegal immigrants, they'll be sent out. Right? Assam doesn't care whether we send them back to Bangladesh or Bihar or West Bengal or Odisha, right? They want them out of their state. And that is the accord they signed with the government of India. Now when the government of India brings in CAB, the signal that goes out is that the Hindus out of this lot, out of these illegal immigrants, will now be settled in Assam as Indian citizens, right? So they are protesting that. Same with Mizoram, who have got a whole lot of Buddhist Chakma refugees as well as illegal, they claim a lot of them are legal immigrants, who will then suddenly become citizens living in their state. And they see that as a threat to their identity. They'll be swamped out and all those kind of things. So they are protesting. CAB not because it demonizes Muslims or denies them, but because they don't want them.
They don't want the immigrants, and but at the same time in the Lok Sabha, all the MPs voted for CAB. And Sikkim's MP was the only one who did not vote.
And interestingly, Sikkim would be the only state that is not really very affected by CAB itself, right? I mean, it's not like Sikkim has this huge Hindu, Bangladeshi, illegal immigrant population that will suddenly become local, right?
No, but I thought, in a way, it was quite... not inspiring, but like it was good to see
Sikkim stand up. Yes.
Regardless of what the issue is.
In the end, they voted against, and that should matter. It would have been nice if a mention was also made that Sikkim joined India based on the promises of the Constitution, and because it believed in the Constitution of India, which is a secular, which promised Sikkim a secular country. And now BJP is trying to make us into a Hindu Rashtra.
That, of course, I mean, I know that is the ideal.
Yeah, I mean, you can have your primary reason on why you're opposing the bill, which is influx and your long-standing complaint against illegal immigrants. But you should also make a mention of what this bill is seeking to do. And that brings us back to what you said, how the Northeastern MPs supported the bill. They supported the bill because Amit Shah reminded them that the places with ILP, inner line permit, will be exempt from the provisions of the CAB. That does not need to be said. That is already existing on paper and in the rules. These people, these illegal immigrants, will become Indian. Even Indians who are not local to a particular area, when they're visiting areas which have inner line permit regime, need to make permits to even visit, and they cannot settle down. It's like kind of like Zongu, where even the locals, when they go to Zongu, need to get paperwork done, and they can never settle down there or buy land, right? It is like that. So Amit Shah saying that or not saying that makes no difference. Same with Sikkim, which has local protection by way of certificates of identification and Sikkim subjects, right? You have Indians, citizens, living in Sikkim for past 100 and more years, who are still not counted or treated as locals in official processes.
Yeah, they are Indians, but...
They're Indians, yes, they're the same citizens as the Sikkimese is, but they do not enjoy the same privileges as local. So when Amit Shah says that 371F protects you, he's not saying that I will make sure that it protects you. He's just reminding Sikkim that you already have a law that protects you, right? So the Northeast MPs knew that all along, right? That the 6 scheduled areas, that the inner line permit areas, they will not be really affected by CAB, because even if they are more Indian citizens, it is not as if they can enter these territories and settle down. And yet these MPs bought it, right? Their people are still on the streets, and these MPs bought it and they supported the bill. I mean, the level of... I don't know whether we call them dumb or compromised. Either way, it's confounding. It's staggering.
It's politics, right? I was thinking, I mean, that is the MPs of the other northeastern states, that's completely like, I don't know, I don't even know what to say about them. But when you look at even the Sikkim MP, when we found out what he had said in the Lok Sabha, in protest against the bill also, so nowhere do you, like you said, there's no mention of it being unconstitutional, right?
Racist or whatever. Yeah.
Like
communal.
They are not saying anything that they are not saying that it is communal. They are not saying anything against the BJP. They are saying that it is humko protection chahiye. Sikkim needs protection. We don't want whatever. We want our security. Blah blah blah. So there also they are like playing it safe, right? If BJP they have a problem with Sikkim's stand, then they'll say, "No, we are just securing ourselves. We are like, तुमको तो कुछ नहीं बोला ना हमने, ये करो, but हमको safe." Like it's very.
They know, which is a first for Sikkim, right? I think this is the first time that Sikkim has voted against any bill in the parliament, right? This would be the first time that it has. That it would have done something like that. So in that sense, it's historic.
Yeah.
And but yes, It's a bill. It's a bill that seeks to amend the constitution. You can talk about your protection and everything else, but when you're challenging it, you got to also challenge the unconstitutionality of this proposal.
So you are not saying that it is wrong. You are saying that leave us out.
Yeah.
You go ahead with it, but just leave us out, right?
That is what the Northeast is saying, right?
So
and
you don't want to So when I saw yesterday, people were like very celebrating what the MP said in the Lok Sabha, which is in a way commendable, but it's like you can't like dil khol ke celebrate it because it's
because the reasons that you have problems with the bill are not complete, I think, and
that is politics.
That's politics, and like I think everyone, at least the politicians, are too scared to call BJP communal. Although BJP doesn't seem to be embarrassed about it at all, because that is what they've constantly been doing. So I don't know why they can't just give it a certificate.
Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know how people can't see themselves in the position of the Muslim community.
Yeah.
So next time it can be some community, some Buddhist community, or tribals. I don't know, some.
Yeah. I mean, I think if the Buddhists tell BJP that sorry, you cannot count us as being Hindu, that we are a separate religion, I think they'll be dropped from that list as well. No, because Buddhist, the only Buddhist in the present exercise who will benefit, if we can call it a benefit, would be the Buddhists from Bangladesh, right? Chakmas. The Tibetans don't count in this because Tibet, I mean, if you're talking about the historic wrong being perpetuated on minority communities by our big neighbors, how can you leave out China and Tibet? Right? I don't think Tibetans are falling over themselves to become Indian citizens at present, but you have to give them that offer. If you're taking a position, Tibet is not in that list. Government of India will not call it Tibet; they'll call it China. Anyways, that's another sellout that we did. But the point being that if you're going to single out Afghanistan, and who are the which is the minority group that Afghans have supposedly terrorized? Sikhs, right? There's a small Sikh community there. Pakistan for Hindus and Christians. Bangladesh for Hindus, essentially, right? Are you trying to tell me that a below poverty line Hindu in Bangladesh is worse off than the below poverty line Muslim in Bangladesh? I think they're both in the same boat. If they are fleeing that country, it is primarily for economic reasons. It could also be for social and everything else, right? But how can I tell a Bangladeshi illegal immigrant that the two of you, the Hindu is more desirable than the Muslim? So the signal, so the Indian Muslims are not affected by it, right? It is for illegal immigrants. But the message it sends out to the community is this government is gunning for you. They pass this, and when the NRC comes, they're going to make sure that a lot of Muslims are left out. That's so obvious. Or it's just going to put the fear. Why should I run around all over wherever my ancestors are from to find documents of my grandfather and then come to some DC or SDM somewhere and show him to prove my credentials as an Indian? I mean, it's just, can you imagine such an exercise at a national scale? It'll be worse than demonetization. Demonetization is an economic assault. This is.
There was some talk of some
NRC.
You were talking about some Tamil community ka bhi something.
Yeah, so for instance, when you're talking about neighbors, how can you ignore Sri Lanka? And we've had Tamils in the lakhs, right? I think 1.5 lakhs. Or there's the official record, 1.2 lakhs. Tamil refugees from Sri Lanka in India. And this doesn't count, this doesn't extend to them either. That's the biggest refugee community that we have, right? And they're ignored. I wonder why. And apart from the fact that we've never had an existing clear policy on illegal immigrants, as in people who've been forced out of their homes because of politics or atrocities, religious atrocities. So they came up with something that recognized that problem, and they made such a hash of it. Yeah, it's problematic. It's deeply problematic, and like We were having this discussion the other day as well. It is unfortunate that it's not being discussed. No one is challenging. Okay, let's not say no one. I'm sure some people are. But the areas with the strongest protest against this bill, they're not protesting it as Indians. Right? They're protesting it as Assamese or Mizos or I don't know what people from Meghalaya are called. Different tribes. Or Sikkimese, right? We're protesting it as Sikkimese, right? We're not like Sikkim did not protest this as that the Lok Sabha MP didn't say that I'm an Indian and this is the constitution of India and I've got problems with what you're doing. He's protesting it as a Sikkimese, which is fine, right? If it was one of the supporting arguments.
No, that is what BJP is. That is what a lot of people are saying. No, that
it's
is what
divided the people up, right? Yeah, now it's become okay for people with a straight face to say that people who've been forced out of their ancestral homes because of atrocity, I don't want them. I'm not going to take care of them. I want them out. I want them sent back. We can say that with a straight face now. See what BJP has achieved. I mean, it's kind of teased out the deepest fears and the worst traits of our personalities in a way, right? Yeah, it kind of, it's disappointing.
So yesterday, HSP, Hamlo Sikkim Party, said that it wants the inner-line permit regime to be brought back to Sikkim. Sikkim had the ILP system earlier.
There is some other parties also that asked for it. It was there until, I think, the early 90s.
That is, and that, I think that argument is just because Amit Shah said कि जहाँ पे ILP है वहाँ पे it will not extend, so for that reason that's why they're asking.
Yeah, to secure. And the fact that he forgot to make special arrangement for Sikkim in that bill, and since it is not written in paper that 371F will continue to protect Sikkim, so we need to kind of find the one that is already there on paper, which is the ILP. Yeah, so go back about 30 years, push Sikkim back 30 years. Good idea.
Yeah. And Jacob Cullingham also said कि अमित शाह ने तो अपने speech में बोला कि 371F will protect
It doesn't
Sikkim.
matter. That's the whole point. I mean, who is Amit Shah to tell you that? That bill was passed in 1975. You know the protections it awards you, it accords you, right? You know that just because India will suddenly have, let's say, 5 lakh new Indians, it's not like they're all rushing to Sikkim and push the locals out. They cannot. They cannot. I mean, that doesn't need to be spelled out. And it was, and that seems to be taken as a victory by people for stating the obvious that you should have known all along. And that is how they're succeeding. That is how the northeastern protests are being hollowed out. That, ILP protection, no problem. Amit Shah said ILP protection, so now I'll vote in favor of the bill. Which is such a scam. And ILP, I mean, people have to realize that regimes like ILP and Sikh schedule, which people tend to celebrate, are actually very regressive ideas that the British gave us, which are more to keep these areas locked out, locked in, than lock the people from outside from stealing their resources. It is a very regressive move. I don't know how progressive people of the 21st century can say that I want ILP.
So, should we move on to the next topic, which is a meeting that was held yesterday by the IPR department, which discussed the framing of guidelines for digital media in Sikkim. And there is not, in the release we did not have much details as to what was discussed. It is another one of those
BJP obsessions.
Yeah, they just said ki they are going to they're first going to frame draft guidelines, and they got people from the media also in the meeting, I think IPR and some other departments maybe, and they were cops, and this I think was
as if they know anything about digital space. Anyways,
this I think was brought about by
an IPR talking about guidelines for the media. They can't write a press release straight here.
So the incident, the rape and the murder of a girl, and where initially it was alleged that she was also raped, and later the police said we are not sure, blah blah. Oh, that case basically of the Pakyong case.
Mm-hmm.
In that case, I think the way the story was reported in the media, I think that is what might have triggered this meeting. And so yeah, that was held. And we yesterday in office also we were discussing how, like, the hell are they going to do it? Why do they need to do it?
So they need to do it because this is the only space that the government has no control over. And the government, we know, goes into panic mode if it can't control something. That's it. The BJP government is obsessed with controlling, regulating, whatever it is, the term they use. The BJP government in Delhi is obsessed with regulating the digital media space. They've tried it several times, not several times, a few times in the recent past. It's been shot down by everyone. Apart from the impossibility of it, it is also that the people who already occupy the digital space are not willing to give up any ground to this, what is laissez-faire that they enjoy, right? And that is what gets to the government, right?
No, but I do understand. We also have problems with the kind of stuff that goes on social media, right? So, like,
is the impossibility of how you do that?
No, I mean, that is why they held this meet. I mean, that's why they're thinking of guidelines, right? Like what, and like how can you change that? Let's say if we were to talk about solutions, how do we?
The audience, I think. I mean, ideally it should be the audience that demands better, but that's not happening either. The audience just wants to be titillated, and they're happy with that. So that's not an option. And why? So there's occasionally the wrong news that is broadcast, and there is a confounding amount of what can only be called, what is the word for it? Idiocy, right? I mean, like, that's not a crime.
No. Like in that case, in the Pakyong murder case, I was also very angry, and I really wanted the state, instead of complaining, I mean the authorities, instead of complaining and whatever, I wanted them to take action against the social media handles that were doing, spreading misinformation or whatever. So
no, more than the misinformation, what was offensive was the photographs that were circulated. Yeah,
those kind of things. But at the same time, you hear counter arguments where they say, like, again, that is like a little dicey. You don't want to infringe freedom of speech and all that, right?
Yeah.
So,
no, for that you don't need to regulate that space. Rules already exist, which do not allow such things to be done, and in the event that they're done, there's actions specified. You've got to take you can't handle the rules that you already have, and then you want to create more.
Yeah, exactly. So I was thinking of that case, and I was thinking, why didn't they take any action? Why didn't the authorities take any action against?
Because the authorities are useless.
So
too much work.
वो तो law है, right? There are laws against it. ये guidelines से क्या होगा?
कुछ नहीं होगा.
This is just another whatever.
This is just control. The government wants control. It doesn't. You think the government, any government, whether the state government or the central government, is really interested that the people get good and factual information? Half the time they're spreading propaganda.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it is control. It's completely about control. They can't handle the realization that they are players in the digital space who are more popular than anything that they can aspire to be, and I want to control them. Apart from the fact that some of these are compromised by themselves, so I don't know why that control is also required. But it's not we don't want any more control from the government, right? This one space that exists should be allowed to exist.
So the meeting was attended by IT department officers, SP East, SP Crime Branch, SP Special Branch, officers of Social Justice and Welfare Department, officer from Sikkim State Legal Services Authority, representatives from Press Club, and officers of the IPR department. And they've said that after a round of consultations, the document will be submitted to the state government and for approval or whatever.
If they write it anything like the way they write their press releases, no one will understand what's said.
Yeah. And they will
Apart
also,
from having the name of everyone who wrote even a comma in that report.
yeah, they'll also were talking about having these digital media pages or whatever. They're having them registered, right?
Which is fine if you're going to give them advertisements, right? If as a digital platform, I'm going to get advertisements from the government, or I'm going to get a press card from the government, or I'm going to get any of the other benefits that are extended to recognized media houses or journalists, then yes, you can ask for registration, right? I mean, that's the least you can ask for. But if I want none of those, what do I care? What do I care? I mean, we ran a newspaper for what? I mean, it's not a criminal it is a criminal offense, but it's in the past. But we ran a newspaper for about 10 years, refusing to get RNI registration because the idea was offensive, right? That in a country that's supposed to be free, why do I need to be registered with any authority? Free speech is something you should hold, yeah. But we sold out. We did it in the end, and
yeah.
So yeah, this is. I think it's. I don't know why they want to get into this. They already can't handle any of the things that they're already required to do, and then to frame guidelines, someone should have done some homework and found out why the government of India's own efforts failed, why it exploded in their face, what kind of protests sane people would make against such control. In Sikkim, you can't expect that, but they should at least know. So all of that they should have thought of. And if you're going to support them in a big way, yeah, then you can ask them to do anything, yeah. You can ask them to come every morning to IPR and say good morning. They'll do that also. I mean, paisa mil raha hai to karenge na log.
All right. I think we're out of time now. Thank you very much for tuning in.
Thanks a lot.